You know when you feel so frustrated, you want to just jump out of your own skin. Maybe you're frustrated because of your weight. No matter what you do, you're not losing weight. Maybe you're frustrated because you just can't stop eating. You know exactly what you could be doing to lose weight. You have all of the information in the world on healthy eating, but you're not doing it. And you're super smart and super successful. You've got a great life besides this one area. And you're just feeling so frustrated. You might also be very, very frustrated because maybe something else in life isn't going well. But mainly, it's about this whole weight loss thing and how frustrating it can be. But then what do you do? What do you do when you have this ongoing habit established of emotional eating and or binge eating, which you know isn't helping you lose weight? But then when you're frustrated, it just kind of creates an ongoing cycle that feeds itself, doesn't it? And as long as you're staying in that cycle, how do you get the weight off? You know what I mean, Jean? Welcome back to the JoLynn Braley Show. Today is episode number 485, and what I'm going to share with you is how to avoid emotional eating when you are feeling so frustrated that you almost want to just jump out of your own skin. Hello. Welcome back to the JoLynn Braley Show. If this is your first time here, to let you know a little bit about myself, who you're listening to, my name is JoLynn Braley. I am the permanent weight loss coach who founded the Inner Self Diet, which is a diet unlike anything you've ever done before. All of the diets out there are focused on the food, and you do have to change what you're eating and how much you're eating. You definitely have to change that part of your life in order to get the weight off. But if you never address what motivates your out of control eating, if you never address the root, your limiting beliefs, your mindset that is rooted in fat thinking. For example, a fat thought is, I can't lose weight. That right there is going to stop you. You'll never do anything because if you believe that you can't lose weight, your behaviors will follow that thought, that belief. All right? So you can have all of the food information in the world, all of the healthiest living information in the world, but if you don't take action with it and you don't take consistent action with it, how do you ever get results? But then you got to look at, if you really want to lose weight and keep it off, you got to look at, why aren't you taking action? Why? What's underneath that? The whole key is when you heal what's underneath that, what is motivating your unhealthy behaviors, then you're free. Then it's no big deal to just live a healthy lifestyle. You're not fighting with yourself anymore. You're not sabotaging yourself anymore. You're not getting in your way anymore. And you're feeling great. And you're eating healthy. And the weight's coming off. Does that make any sense? 92.8% of successful, healthy, lasting weight loss starts between your own two ears. 92.8% of it is about your mindset. That's the work that I do with my awesome coaching clients in the Inner Self Diet. I've been professionally coaching since 2009. I've never seen it fail unless the person doesn't do the steps. You gotta take action with a proven system to get the results of that proven system. You can't just listen to me talk about it. You can't just think about things. You can't just hope about things. You can't even just pray about things. Prayer works when you take action alongside that prayer. You got to keep your feet moving. You got to keep moving forward. Prayer works while you are in action. Do you know what I mean? So, you can get the weight off. You can force yourself without the right mindset, but it's always going to just come right back boomeranging right in your face. I'm sure that, if you struggle with yo-yo dieting, you know what I'm talking about. But then the really good news is if you heal the root of this stuff, then you set yourself free and it's just not an issue. You stop the emotional eating, stop the binge eating because you don't have that inner world that is driving that behavior any longer. Hey, before we get done here today, if you want help with this, I'll tell you what your first step is. But first, I want to share with you, how do you deal with this extreme frustration and not emotionally eat? Because if you take that path of emotional eating or binge eating or both, because you're so frustrated, obviously it's not going to help you get any weight off. And then how do you feel being so heavy? How do you feel with the extra weight on? Are you happy with yourself? Probably not. Otherwise, why would you want to lose weight? And so if you're already feeling frustrated and then you still are emotional eating and or binge eating, isn't that just going to add to more frustration for you and more stress and more disappointment and more feeling like a failure? Wouldn't it be better if you could avoid the emotional eating even though you feel frustrated? So how do you do that? Oh, before I share my tips with you here on how to avoid emotional eating, even though you're feeling over the top frustrated, I have a free download for you, which actually it's a bit of a series. I break it down for you over 9 days. If you go over to thejolynnbraleyshow.com/9, thejolynnbraleyshow.com/9, opt in there. I'll send you my full list of my top 9 best weight loss tips of all time. The reason that I put these together is because this is a celebration of 9 years of the JoLynn Braley Show. So I thought it was kind of fun. And then you get to get a little reward for my 9 years of publishing these free weight loss podcasts here on the JoLynn Braley Show. Now, what I'm doing is I am sending you that full list of my top 9 best weight loss tips. And then over 9 days, I break each one of them down for you to make it easier to digest. And I've been getting good feedback on it, and you can get in on it too. It's totally free. Like I said, you can get that over at www.thejolynnbraleyshow.com/9. And that's all to celebrate the 9th year of this podcast. Yay! If you don't know how to spell my name, just look at the podcast. You'll see that. And yeah, very simple to see that there. All right, so what do you do with all of this frustration? How do you handle this when you want to lose weight, but you can't stop yourself from emotional eating or binge eating or both? And the frustration just drives you to it because your coping mechanism in life is the food. The way that you get through your life is with eating. So you're really in a pickle. It's a catch-22 because the way that you deal with your frustration is by eating to try to feel better, but then don't you feel even more frustrated because you're not losing weight? And the reason you're not losing weight is because you're still eating because you're frustrated and it just keeps going in a circle. Do you get it? So then what can you do? Number 1, and this might be the hardest step, and I do recommend you get coaching to move through these steps I'm going to share with you. You don't want this to just be information. You want to take action with what I'm sharing with you. Otherwise, how do you get any results, right? Well, you're getting results right now, but you're not going to get new results. You're not going to get the kind of results that will make you feel good if you don't take action with new action steps that will lead you to those new results that you want. Okay, so first thing, stop beating yourself up because you feel so frustrated. All right? Emotions are emotions. They're not the end of the world. They're not the end of your life. They're not the arbiter of everything. In fact, the worst thing that you can do is take action from a very low negative emotion. And the very lowest emotion there is shame. And unfortunately, shame is the biggest driver of emotional eating and binge eating. So that's another pickle. You got to learn how to feel your emotions instead of stuffing them down with food. But first, before you even do that, let go, if you can, let go of beating yourself up because you feel so frustrated. And also, stop beating yourself up for everything that you feel so frustrated about. How does it help you to beat yourself up because you are how many pounds overweight? 20 pounds overweight? 10 pounds overweight? 100 pounds overweight? And it's really not even about the number. There are women who feel even more frustrated that they can't get that last 10 pounds off. They feel more frustrated than somebody else who is 75 pounds overweight and they're not really trying. So it's not about the number. It's about how you interpret it and how it makes you feel. But what I'm getting at here simply is it's not going to help you to beat yourself up for feeling frustrated, because how can you think clearly when not only do you feel frustrated, but you're also making yourself wrong for feeling frustrated? And then on top of that, how is it going to help you get positive results if you beat yourself up for whatever it is that you did to get to this place where you are, where you're feeling so frustrated? So if you're beating yourself up about all of the overeating you've done and all of the weight you've gained, but that is making you feel so disappointed in yourself and feeling like a failure and feeling so frustrated, but then that drives you to eat more, which only puts on more weight, which is just going to keep feeding this cycle. So what if instead you were to forgive yourself for getting to where you are and stop beating yourself up? Stop beating yourself up for what you did in the past. You can't control what you did in the past. The past is done. All of your power lies in this present moment right now. Whatever you do right now is going to determine your results that you're going to have 6 months from now. So if you can forgive yourself and stop beating yourself up for where you are now, and remind yourself that this is all temporary. It's all temporary if you start right now with different action. It's not temporary if you keep the cycle going. So it's up to you, and this is going to take a decision. You know what's interesting? Some are addicted to the cycle of frustration because it's their comfort zone and it feels familiar. It's what they know, and they've done it so long it's become a habit. And they're just comfortable there. But you're not going to be able to stop emotional eating in that comfort zone, and you're definitely not going to get the weight off in that comfort zone, because even if you could force yourself to eat healthy for a few days, a few weeks, a couple months, if you don't address what drives your emotional eating, it's still there. It's still there. Does that make sense? And a very, very simple action you can take right now is not only to forgive yourself and stop beating yourself up, but also imagine this. Feel your frustration. Feel your frustration. Rather than running from it, rather than trying to avoid it, rather than trying to stuff it down with food, rather than trying to make it go away, what if you just feel it? Now, I understand this can be very difficult. Maybe you're not even going to be able to do it because you have shut down so much over the years of, continual stuffing of your emotions, continually stuffing them down. So maybe just even having the thought, maybe even just hearing me talk about the possibility of what if I could feel my emotions instead of stuffing them, instead of eating them? What if I could feel them? And what if I could be okay with them? And then what if instead of stuffing them and emotionally eating over them, what if by feeling them, they could actually begin to dissipate? Then what would happen? So what I'm suggesting is just contemplating, imagining, daydreaming about the possibility of feeling your own emotions instead of avoiding them, which is what most people do. And then another thing that people are in the habit of is very shallow breathing, because when you breathe shallowly, that's a way to keep your emotions that you've stuffed all these years, to keep them down. Because if you breathe deeply, that's going to stir up that bottleneck of the stuffed emotions. And especially if you have a lot of stuff that you've stuffed, I wasn't trying to make a joke, but it kind of came out like that. If you have a lot of stuff that you've stuffed over the years, it's very common that when you start breathing into that, deep breathing into that, you're probably going to start feeling emotional because it's right there. And if you're afraid to feel the sadness or the disappointment or the shame or the embarrassment or whatever it is that you've been stuffing, that you've been trying to avoid, then you're going to keep shallow breathing to try to avoid it. But this isn't going to help you move out of emotional eating. Okay? All right, now, something else you can also do to avoid emotional eating when you're feeling extremely frustrated is get up and move. Get up. Go for a walk. Do something physical. I like walking. Actually, walking is the best fat burner if you do it in your target heart rate zone. It's even better than running or jogging. Running and jogging burns more sugar than fat. So what if instead of emotional eating, you get up and you move? Get out and walk. If it's raining out, then what if you go in your bedroom and pound a pillow? Scream out loud if you need to. At least if you can let out some emotion instead of stuffing it with food, you might just feel a little bit better. At the very, very least, you are giving yourself a lot more respect by being present to how you're feeling instead of disrespecting yourself by stuffing it all down. Now, all of these tips I'm giving you here, don't beat yourself up if you're not able to do them. It's very possible that you have been in these unhealthy eating patterns for so many years, 20, 30, 40 or more years, that you're kind of stuck. And I've had a lot of coaching clients like that. That's why they come to me and get help, because they realize that they need help and they deserve it and they want to feel better and they can't do it alone. And even though they're super smart and successful in their life and in their skill set, they can't see their own blind spots. And no matter what they've done, they've never been able to just lose weight and keep it off on their own. They need help. They realize that there's more to this than just a food diet because they have all of the healthy food plans they could ever want. And a lot of my coaching clients have lost weight in the past. But then it all came back because what was driving the overeating in the first place hadn't been addressed. So what I'm saying is, if you find that you're not even able to do these tips that I've given you here, do you understand what I'm saying? You really need to have a two-way conversation with your permanent weight loss coach to really get personal help. I recommend that you get the help of your coach who's helping you stay accountable, who's willing to be real with you, who's willing to be honest with you and help you move through your own personal internal roadblocks as fast as possible so that you can stop getting in the way of your own weight loss goals that you want for yourself. Okay? So stop beating yourself up. Forgive yourself. Recognize that emotions are just emotions. Remember that this is all temporary. Unless you keep doing what you're doing, then you're just going to keep getting more of the same results. So it's only temporary as long as you make changes. And breathe. Did I mention this before? The power of breathing through your emotions. I think I did. Didn't I talk about shallow breathing versus deep breathing? And deep breathing helps you to feel your emotions. And then get up and move. Get up and move to process your emotions instead of just sitting and eating. Unless you're physically hungry. It's important to eat food when you are physically hungry, but if you're not physically hungry, there's no reason to be putting food in your mouth. And do emotional eaters and binge eaters eat for physical hunger? No. So, the motivation for eating when you're an emotional eater and or a binge eater, it's not about physical hunger. So, to avoid emotional eating when you're feeling extremely frustrated, you could take action with these steps I've given you. See how far you can get with them. Remember that whatever you do right now is determining the results that you're going to be living 6 months from now. You can't do anything about the past. You can't do anything about all of the overeating you've done. You can't do anything about the weight that you are now. You can't go back in the past and stop all of that overeating so you didn't gain it. Here you are now. You are the weight you are. What you're doing now, what you're going to do from this point forward right now is going to determine your results 6 months from now. So if you don't start doing very, very new things you've never done before, then don't expect to get new results. Remember Einstein's definition of insanity? That is doing the same thing over and over and over again while expecting a different result. And then you get mad and frustrated because you're not getting new results. But if you really sit down with a pen and paper and look at exactly what you've been doing and get real with yourself and notice that, wow, I really haven't been doing anything different. Or I've only been putting in very minimal effort. So why am I so frustrated when I haven't even been taking the action that I need to take to get the results I want? And by the way, in order to get that weight off and keep it off, consistency with the right action is critical. And you need consistency not only with your physical actions, but also with the actions you take to maintain the right mindset. Your mindset is 92.8% of what's going to determine whether or not you are successful with your weight and really with anything in life. Are you following me here? Did any of this make sense? I'd love it if you'd go over to iTunes and rate and review the JoLynn Braley Show, especially if you think this is a 5-star podcast just like I do, because I share the information that is the real deal. Do you need to have a food diet? Do you need to change your food diet in order to lose weight? Yes. But why aren't you taking action with the healthy eating plan you already have? It's because of what's between your own two ears. And that's what I share here on this free weight loss podcast. So if you believe this is a 5-star podcast, I'd love it if you'd go over to iTunes, give the show a rating and a review. And in your review, mention that you listened to episode 485 of the show and tell me what your biggest aha is from what I shared with you here today about how to avoid emotional eating when you're feeling so frustrated that you just want to jump out of your own skin. And hey, maybe you've been walking while you've been listening to me here. Hopefully you're not extremely frustrated, but bookmark this podcast for the future if you ever get extremely frustrated. And or you can write down my tips and remember them for later. But I just thought of something as I'm talking. You really need to practice how to live with your emotions and how to process them daily, even when you're not in a really bad emotional state. Because if you don't practice now, you're not going to know how to handle your emotions when you need to. So what I've shared with you here today is not just for those times when you're feeling very upset. It's also for day-to-day life. You have to learn how to handle your inner world so that it doesn't drive you to use food in a way that is self-destructive. And when you get a positive handle on your own inner self, then there's no big issue anymore with just living a healthy lifestyle. It's not any big deal. If you'd love help with that, if you would love to stop feeling so stuck and irritated and frustrated and disappointed because no matter what you've done to lose weight, you might have lost some weight, but then you always end up gaining it back. If you'd love to stop emotional eating, stop binge eating, if you want to feel good about yourself again, this is the work that I do with my coaching clients in the Inner Self Diet. The way to find out if I might be able to help you, I don't know right now. We don't know unless we get on the phone and talk. Let's find out if or how I might be able to help you. If I can help you, great. If I can't, great. I'll let you know. Your first step is to complete an application for a complimentary weight loss discovery session. Go over to www.discovery-session.com, www.discovery-session.com. Fill out an application, get that sent in to my office. Let's find out if we can get on the phone, see if there might be any way that I could possibly help you personally, because I don't know who you are, just me here doing this free weight loss podcast, recording it in my home office recording studio. Coaching requires two-way communication. It requires accountability. It requires your personal, you got to show up. You got to show up for yourself personally. It's that simple. It should make sense. So if you want help, head on over to www.discovery-session.com. That's where you need to get started. I'm JoLynn Braley, permanent weight loss coach, founder of the Inner Self Diet. I've shared here with you today how to avoid emotional eating when you're feeling extremely frustrated. Number 1, forgive yourself. Number 2, stop beating yourself up. Number 3, remember that this is just temporary. Unless you don't start taking new action now, then it's not temporary and you will continue to keep getting the results you're getting. Breathe. Allow yourself to breathe. Breathe deeply. Breathe through your emotions. Feel your emotions instead of stuffing them. Do something physical. Get up, walk, go pound your pillow if you need to. Feel your emotions instead of stuffing them down with food. This is how you can avoid emotional eating when you're feeling so frustrated that you want to jump out of your own skin. I wish you your best life living inside of your ideal body, looking your best in your jeans, feeling good in your skin, just loving yourself, being happy, showing up as your best self. This is what I wish for you.